Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray you're all well. Right, let's start Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallama wa baraka ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una. وانفعنا بما علمتنا وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. So, Alhamdulillah, whilst we were looking at the verse of Surah Al-An'am, the last discussion that we had was of the idolaters having made things forbidden for themselves and for other people, but not because of any sort of legal basis, not because of any sort of revelation or any indication that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants and what He's decreed. Rather, just off their own backs. They just decided that they wanted to make things impermissible, so they deemed them impermissible without any proof from God. So they were iftira'an alayhi, as the Quran says, as lying, concocting a huge lie against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so what we see now in the coming verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connects their points to a point that proves His oneness and that He is the creator, He is the master. So they're saying, this is halal and this is haram, and that's something only the maker can do. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows He is the maker, the indication of His power, and that He deserves worship, not the idols and not them, right? And they're not divine in the sense of being able to determine what's right and wrong, good and bad, forbidden and lawful. Rather, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He does this before as a preparation for the reflection against them. So He says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَ جَنَّاتٍ مَعْرُوشَاتٍ وَغَيْرَ مَعْرُوشَاتٍ. He is the one who produces gardens, both cultivated and wild. والزرع مختلفا أكله والزيتون والرمان متشابها وغير متشابه. And palm trees and crops of different flavors, olives and pomegranates, similar in shape but dissimilar in taste. So He says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي. So the wow, so it's saying, and He, so so it's connecting it to the current thread of the discussion. And He alone, وَهُوَ الَّذِي, and الَّذِي here in this context is almost as though it's known, He's famous for this. Everyone knows this, everyone recognizes this. He's the one who made all of this. How can you even think to? It's like saying, look, everyone knows the sky is blue, right? Everyone knows snow is cold. How can you? Everyone knows this. He made everything. هُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَ جَنَّاتٍ مَعْرُوشَاتٍ. It's translated here as cultivated and wild. And there are a number of positions, but the word ma'roosh, from arush, the word indicates height and being high and lofty. So what this is referring to is like gardens where grapes are grown, right? Ma'rushat, so grapes are grown, so elevated gardens. Because as we said, Jannah, in the description of paradise, it refers to something that's covered. So I used to see this in the Middle East. People would have gardens where they'd put this wire meshing, and then they'd put grapevines all over the garden, and then when the grapes grow, they hang down and it's all shaded underneath, and it looks beautiful and delicious, right? So that's part of the blessing of God, that they're tasty. And like Imam al-Qurtubi says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all of this for us, and He created us, okay, He could have created us as not needing any sustenance, but there's wisdom in this. And then He created our sustenance, and He could have created any sort of boring, bland, drab food, but no, He gave us many things because people have different tastes, and He created us with different tastes. Some enjoy, and sometimes you crave something savory, and sometimes you crave something sweet. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did all of this, and then He not only did He make the food beneficial, He made it delicious as a gift from Him. And not only did He make it delicious, He made it pleasant to look at, pleasant to smell, right? All of these gifts from him. So the ma'rushat is, so Jannah refers to something that's covered. So the ground below is shaded by all the grapes. وَغَيْرَ مَعْرُوشَاتٍ, gardens that are not like this, right? Where the fruit or the vegetation, whatever, it grows out of the ground. There are a couple of other positions that some say, you know, things that grow out of the ground but require the plant to be up there, like with pumpkins and watermelons, that's ma'rushat. And other things that just grow out of the ground on their own stalks are ghayr ma'rushat. There is a difference of opinion. It's not really that significant, but this is what Abu Saud, Sayyid Tantawi and others have gone with, and it makes the most sense, and it fits the linguistic use of the words best. Abdullah ibn Abbas had said, that which spreads out on the ground, and and he says you need something to carry it with, carry the fruit in, such as grapes and watermelons. They're ma'rushat, right? And ghayr ma'rushat are those that stand on their own stalks or trunks or whatever. But the position I said first is the stronger one. Okay, so then he says وَالنَّخْلَ وَالزَّرْعَ. Why highlight these two, the palm trees and crops? Because firstly, the tremendous benefit found in palm trees. Every part of the tree is useful. The bark, the wood, the leaves, the reeds that the leaves are made of. The Arabs had uses for it all, and obviously because this was a common food and common source of food for the Arabs, palm trees. So he highlighted that. And then obviously zara', crops, crops of wheat or barley or whatever, is they provide the majority of the sustenance of people. And so he highlighted them as well because of the different types of grain. You have corn, you have wheat, millet, barley, these sorts of things that have different tastes, different textures. All of them are a blessing. Even if you had the best food ever, as we saw Bani Israel, they were given manna and salwa, manna and quails, and they were longing for other things, right? And so Allah gave us so many of these things. مختلفا أكله, fruits or what they produce is different, varied in taste, varied in texture, varied in color, varied in smell, varied in its uses. It's all different. Then he says, was zaytuna wa rumana, and olives. So many blessings and benefits are in olives. Historically, people used olive oil like we use moisturizer. The olives themselves are good for you. The oil is good for you. There's so many benefits. And a rumman also full of benefits. They say, some of the ulama, and some practitioners of natural medicines, naturopaths, these people, they say, sometimes a food is beneficial for the organ which the food resembles. So kidney beans are good for your kidneys, pomegranates look like little hearts, so they're good for your heart. And apparently it's I do know a practitioner of medicine, not a Western doctor, but a doctor of other forms of medicine, and he's treated people with heart conditions with pomegranate juice. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But classically, and doctors of Greek medicine, which was incorporated into the Islamic tradition, that form of medicine, that they treated many people with things like this, right? So anyway, the rumman, right, pomegranate, delicious. Also a fruit that teaches you patience, because you can't just take a bite out of it. The skin is very sour, right? And so if you get the most of it, then if you want the most of it, you got to cut it or you got to peel it, and then you got to separate the individual pieces of the pomegranate. It's like your heart, that you take care of it. It requires patience. It requires, being meticulous with it, and you get the fruit, you get the benefit of it. And it says mutashabihan wa ghayra mutashabih, meaning that with the olives and with the rumman, with the pomegranates, some of them resemble each other. So one pomegranate will be similar to another in size, in how big, in color, in how many pieces of actual pomegranate seed are in there, and others they differ from. Right, Allah has created things. All of these are displays of His power. He can create gardens like this and gardens like that. He can create these sorts of trees and those sorts of trees. This type of fruit and that type of fruit. He can create things that are beneficial all the time, and He can create things that you can benefit from immediately, and things that you require time for you to benefit from. Like compare a date, you can just put it in your mouth, and the pomegranate, and they don't always have to be the exact same thing. It's not like a lab-grown thing where it's, if you look at, like for example, if you look at old cities, the roads are organic, they go all over, but in modern cities, it's all straight and blocks and everything. Allah can create in this way and that way. Right? All demonstrations of His power. So then He says, "Kulu min thamarihi idha athmar." Eat of the fruit, they bear when they bear, right? And pay the dues at the harvest. So you can eat the fruit, you can eat it as soon as it grows out. And some people eat raw, unripe things. Like almonds, some people eat, like in Syria, they eat unripe almonds, and they're quite nice actually with a bit of salt. And some people eat, wait for them to ripen. And so He says, eat. It's a command, but it's in Arabic it's called ibaha. Allah's given you permission here, eat, have gratitude and eat, from the blessings of God. وَآتُوا حَقَّهُ يَوْمَ حَصَادِهِ, and give its right at the day of the harvest. Which is what? So some of the ulama said this refers to zakat. That's a weak position. Zakat was obligated in Medina. This is a Meccan surah. Some of the ulama said that when you harvest, you have to give a certain amount in charity. That's also not a strong position. The strongest position is saying eat and benefit from all of this, but do give some charity. Do give some away, right? When people come, let them benefit. And that's it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you enjoy it and let others enjoy it as well. And then He said, وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا, and don't go to excesses. This is in the amount that you give away in charity. Don't go to extremes, because you can have someone like Thabit ibn Qais, one of the Sahaba. He had an orchard, and one day he said, whoever comes today, I'll give him something he can eat from here. And then by the end of the day, it was empty. There was nothing left. So give your sadaqah, give whatever, but give from the excess of what you need for your own self and for your dependents. Obviously, you don't spend that. You keep that and you benefit from it yourself. So that's that. And then He says, وَمِنَ الْأَنْعَامِ حَمُولَةً وَفَرْشًا, and He created from the an'am a hamula, right? If those fit for labor, those fit to be carried. وَفَرْشًا. Now there's a couple of positions for this. Farasha is to lay something flat. So either it means animals that are laid down to be slaughtered, as Abu Su'ud says, such as a sheep or a goat, or it means smaller animals. So you have the larger animals that can be beasts of burden, like horses and camels, or you can have smaller animals, right, like sheep and lamb, and goats and whatever. And so that's one position. Or the second position is that the first one refers to small animals that are laid down to be slaughtered. Kulu mimma razaqakumullah. Eat from the things that Allah has provided you. Allah has given you these things as provision from Him. It's His generosity that He's manifesting and His kindness. So appreciate that and show appropriate thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Appreciate Him for His blessings and stay within the bounds of what Allah has legislated and said is fine and permissible. If you don't, then you suffer, right? Because what happens? Shaitan leads people away, leads people to punishment. So that's why He says, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ, and don't follow the steps of the devil. The devil doesn't tell you on day one, disbelieve in God. Rather, the devil takes people down a long, windy road, step by step by step by step. They make an allowance, they pass over this, they ignore this, and eventually, he tries to seduce them outside of Islam. So Allah protect us. But so don't follow the footsteps of the devil. Don't act the way he does. Don't see things as being good and bad according to his standard. Be obedient servants of God. And that's what he's saying, right? And he says, إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Indeed, without a doubt, this is true, a fact, this is a certainty. The devil, shaitan, is for you, like he's focused on you. He is aduwwun mubin, an open, clear enemy. He declares his enmity. So only a fool would make his own enemy his best friend. And what's he gonna get? The person's out to get you, plot against you, and you're making him your bedfellow, so he knows everything that's happening in your life. What do you think's gonna happen? Right? Nothing good. So he's an open enemy to humanity. So don't follow his footsteps, and follow the path of God, and appreciate the blessings of God. Why is this mentioned? Well, because of all of the things that they did in listening to the devil in the past. Right? So let's stop here. And so this is half a page then that we normally stick to, and we'll continue from this point onwards, inshallah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.